Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen and I'm a dyslexic here to help other dyslexics and their parents. Today I'm going to be covering characteristics or traits of dyslexics. So if you are looking for just a general overview of characteristics, then this video is for you. Let's get into it. Not every single dyslexic is the same. In fact, dyslexia ranges from mild to profound or severe. And so every single dyslexic is a little bit different, which makes it a little bit harder to diagnose and figure out what's going on sometimes. But that doesn't change the fact that there are some very similar characteristics. And most of the time, a dyslexic exhibits at least 10 of these characteristics that I am going to cover. So not every single one of them, but quite a few of them. So the first one is we have average to above average intelligence, but sometimes that doesn't exactly show. We're very good at taking oral tests and talking about things orally, but when it comes to a paper pencil test or a multiple choice test, our knowledge of the information is not going to be seen through the written test. So that is the first one. The next one is we are very good at specific things. We are very good at arts, dancing, movement. We have great entrepreneurial skills. We also are good at being mechanics and helping things. So we do things a little bit different, but we have gone on to change the world. So we express ourselves in different ways. The next one is we learn best through hands-on experiences. So getting to do things, getting to get our hands busy. So we enjoy like sciences and things like that. We don't like just to sit down and do things, but when we can be active and moving around and getting our hands busy and doing things, we seem to pick up on the information better. Now let's talk about some reading traits that you can see. We get letters mixed up, like B, D, P, and Q are basically the same letter all mixed up, and that's because we see things in 3D and we interpret things a little bit different. So when letters are very similar, we have a tendency to mix them up. When we read, it is very slow and very robotic. We really don't do a lot of fluency, and it's very hard for us and it takes a long time. When it comes to spelling, we can be all over the place with spelling. We will follow the rules or sound it out. And so most of the time, if they're not directly and explicitly taught, we do not pick up on spelling patterns. We are also very observant, and we observe and learn a lot of things by observing them. But it is much harder for us when we're just expected to read. Most of the time, dyslexics will read and can reread and reread the same information over and over again, but they have a very hard time comprehending what they are reading. So if you expect somebody to read something and then answer the comprehension questions, if you made them read it to themselves, dyslexics are going to struggle with that. But if the information is read to them, they have a much greater chance of comprehending and understanding what is going on. When it comes to writing, dyslexics have a very hard time getting their thoughts and ideas down on paper. They have wonderful ideas, but somehow from the brain down to the piece of paper, something gets lost in translation and it never comes out the way you want it to. I know I experience this all the time. I have these wonderful ideas. I can't wait to share them with people. And then I go to write it down and it never comes out the way I want it to. It is one of the biggest struggles I've had my entire life. I'm like, oh, I have this wonderful story. I can't wait to share it with everybody. Then I go write it down and it's like 3 sentences. That's not the story that was in my head. And that is one thing I have struggled with. And I know that several dyslexic authors have been able to figure out how to get their stories onto paper. I wish I knew how to do that, but I don't. And that is one thing, is writing for most is very challenging. And then again, we also change what we want to say. We have these big, elaborate words in our heads and can't wait to share them with people. But then when we go to write it down and we don't know how to spell it, we change the word, which changes the meaning of the story and makes it much more simple. And that's one of the things is I remember, and I still do this, I will literally go and start writing something. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to spell that word. Okay, what word do I know how to spell? Oh, the simple word. Okay, let's write that one down. And I've literally just changed the entire meaning because I don't know how to spell that word. And it has become easier over time with assistive technology because I literally use my phone and talk out that word. But sometimes it doesn't pick up on what I'm saying if I can't pronounce it correctly. This one was huge for me, is copying things. So seeing something up on the board and then writing it down on a piece of paper as a student learning how to do and take notes. My notes never matched what the board said. And this was one of the biggest things that I struggled with and still struggle with. It is very hard for me to look at something and then turn around and write it down and have it be the exact same thing. Luckily, I'm not in school anymore, so I've figured out ways to do this, and technology has really improved. So most of the time, I literally take a screenshot of whatever it is and just copy and paste it into a Word document or paste it into something else, and that has really helped me. And another thing is, I know that there are several apps, and I've been looking into them and researching them to help dyslexics with taking notes. And so here pretty soon, I'm going to be sharing that information with you, and I can't wait to share that. But note taking and looking at something and then writing it down again or copying it is very difficult for a dyslexic. Sometimes we struggle with fine motor skills when it comes to like writing and things like that. One of the things that tipped my family off is actually the way I hold a pencil. To be honest, I've never held a pencil correctly. I literally grip it, and this is definitely not the way to hold a pencil. I literally have calluses, and because I've always held my pencil, it should be like this, but that just does not feel comfortable to me. It has always been this way. I've had pencil grips to help. I've had you name it, and it's never worked. This has always been the most comfortable way to hold a pencil. Another one is understanding things. Like I still to this day struggle with telling the difference between left and right. The easiest way for me to do it is literally to hold up my two fingers. See, it's an actual L. This is my left hand. This L is backwards. This is right. That's the only way I can do it. And I've been through school and I still have to do this. And I get confused driving down the road when the GPS is like, turn left, turn right. Or my husband's like, turn left, turn right. I still get them confused. And he's like, I don't understand how you don't understand this. I don't either, but it's something that has been there my entire life. Sometimes we get things like put it on top of or under, just things like that that we get reversed. Another one that I've also seen is you go grab a spoon, and they bring you a fork. So just little things that get mixed up all the time. We are going to talk about math and time management. Most of the time, dyslexics do pretty well with math. If they don't, then it could be something else called dyscalculia. But most of the time, we do pretty well with understanding numbers. But we are always going to be the people behind the scenes using our fingers and manipulatives to help us figure it out. That's okay, but just know that most of the time we use our fingers. And math is easy until it comes to word problems. Oh my goodness, it becomes totally different when you get to the word problems because now you're having to worry about reading have to worry about understanding the problem, making sure that you picked which is the right sign. And all of these things are very hard. So math changes for a dyslexic once you start getting into word problems. Another one is dyslexics have trouble with executive functioning or time management. We always underestimate how much time it is going to take to do something. I know that I will plan out something and I'm like, I can get that done in 30 minutes. I'm still working on it 3 days later. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to whip out a quick video reel here. 2 hours later, I'm still working on it. I struggle with time management, and one of the things is I will literally come up with all these things to do, and I've gotten better about it, but I always underestimate how much time it is going to take me. We are also not good at time and like how much an hour is, how much a minute is, how long it is, and telling time is a very hard for dyslexics to do and understand. I remember my mother had to buy special watches for me to learn how to tell time and think, yes, I mean, it has gotten easier now that everything is digital, but back when it was analog, it was very difficult for dyslexics to learn how to tell time. Another thing dyslexics struggle with is sequencing, putting things in order. This is hard. When you just give us numbers and then tell us to put them in order, that is hard. Sometimes putting it in alphabetical order or just sequencing what happened first, what happened second, what happened third, what happened fourth. These are things that I have had to struggle with, and it takes me longer to understand sequencing than other concepts. Dyslexics also struggle with the concept of money. Money is very hard because I guess it really doesn't follow everything else. I mean, I know here in America we have like ones, fives, tens. We don't have 15s, but we have 20s, we have 50s and 100s. And then also with the coins, so part of a whole is hard. So we have pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And just the concept of money is one that takes dyslexics a little bit longer to understand. Now we are going to talk about memory. So dyslexics have an awesome long-term memory. We're able to remember things. We're able to recall details that most people probably shouldn't. We are really good at recognizing faces and events, especially if we took place in those events. But if we just read about the events in history and we didn't interact in, then they become much harder. Most of the time, we have problems with short-term memory and getting all the information. Most people can carry about 7 facts or 7 pieces of information in their short-term memory bank. Unfortunately, with a dyslexic, we most of the time can only have about 4 pieces of information in our short-term memory to manipulate them and then hopefully attach that information to something else so we can remember it. Sometimes we remember facts incorrectly. I know this happens to me sometimes, and whenever I go and start talking about things, they're like, wait, what did you just say? And I'm like, oh, it's this. And they're like, no, that's not how it actually, that's not correct. It's actually this way. And so dyslexics, and they don't do it on purpose. I promise I don't do it on purpose, but that sometimes how we perceive things and remember things are incorrect. And if that is the case, especially with studying and learning new information, it needs to be corrected so they can learn and remember the correct information. Remember that dyslexics think in pictures. So we are very visual learners. And so when you sit down and have a dyslexic read information and expect them to interpret that and put it into pictures, it becomes very, very hard. But if you can show them pictures and help them remember through pictures, this is definitely a step in the right direction. Another tip I have with this is I love helping my students with visualization strategies. So when you're doing this, you want to help them paint a picture in their head. They're going to remember the facts, they're going to remember the information better, they're going to be able to remember everything easier. Thank you so much for watching the characteristics of dyslexia. I really enjoyed sharing this information with you. Most of these things are things I have struggled with as a child and now into adulthood, and you will learn that dyslexics are really good at coping or learning how to deal with these traits that they have to make them better. It does take time, and some people have to step in and help, but we do learn how to cope with this. I hope you found this useful. I'm going to go ahead and link all of my past videos of traits or characteristics or warning signs of dyslexia by age. And so all of those can be found for you right here. Go ahead and click there. And I have broken them down more by age to help you out. In the next few weeks, I have more information about dyslexia, time management, and the IEP coming out. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.